What if I told you that every emotion you feel, every surge of joy, every moment of fear, every burst of anger or wave of love, leaves a fingerprint on your DNA? Not metaphorically, but literally. Beneath your skin, inside every cell, lies a biological universe responding to the invisible world of your thoughts and feelings. Your DNA is not a fixed script carved in stone. It's alive, listening, adapting, and reshaping itself based on the emotional signals you send it each day. For centuries, we believed genetics were destiny. You inherited a blueprint at birth and lived out the consequences. But a revolutionary field called epigenetics has changed everything. It reveals that your genes are more like switches that turn on or off depending on your inner environment. And one of the most powerful environmental forces is emotion. Stress can silence genes that keep you healthy and activate ones that accelerate aging. Trauma can leave molecular echoes that linger for decades, or even generations. But here's the part that shocks most people. Positive emotions can do the opposite. Love, gratitude, compassion, joy, these aren't just feel-good states. They create real biological change, activating protective genes, strengthening your immune system, and guiding your cells toward repair, balance, and growth. Your emotions are chemical messengers. Your thoughts become molecules, and your inner world shapes your outer biology. Think of your DNA as a symphony. Every emotion is a conductor, raising or quieting different instruments. When you consistently feel fear, worry, or resentment, the soundtrack of your cells shifts into dissonance. But when you cultivate peace, appreciation, and hope, your genetic music changes, becoming brighter, stronger, and more harmonious. This isn't wishful thinking. It's science, proven, measurable, and profoundly empowering. Your DNA is not the story you inherit. It's the story you continue to write. In this journey, you'll discover how emotions sculpt your genes, how your inner states influence your health and future, and how you can consciously harness your emotional power to shape the destiny coded within you. Welcome to Self-Unlocked, the space where cutting-edge science meets ancient wisdom to help you unlock your true potential. For decades, biology taught us a simple, rigid idea. Your DNA is your destiny. It was believed that every trait, your health, strengths, weaknesses, risks, vulnerabilities, was encoded at birth and locked into place like a cosmic lottery ticket. If you were born with certain genes, you were simply programmed to experience life a certain way. But that old belief has been shattered. Today, one of the most revolutionary fields in science, epigenetics, has revealed a truth far more dynamic, empowering, and astonishing. It shows us that our DNA is not a fixed script but a responsive system, shaped by our environment, experiences, behaviors, and most shockingly, our emotions. Epigenetics is the science of how life events change gene activity without altering the genetic code itself. It's the bridge connecting the outer world with your inner biology, the meeting point where thoughts become molecules, where feelings become biochemical signals, and where your inner world writes instructions directly to your cells. To understand this, imagine your DNA as a massive library. Every gene is a book. But here's the twist, not all books are open. Some are sealed. Some are highlighted. Some are bookmarked. Some are locked away. Your epigenome, the chemical markers that sit on top of your DNA, decides which genetic books are read and which remain silent. These markers can be added or removed throughout your life. What adds them? Not just food, not just environment, not just habits, but most importantly, your emotions, your stress levels, your mindset, your relationships, your fears, your joys, your beliefs, the DNA switchboard inside you. Epigenetics functions like a series of tiny molecular switches, and these switches respond to your experiences, When you feel calm and safe, some genes related to healing and repair switch on. When you feel chronic stress or fear, genes related to inflammation or survival responses switch on, while beneficial ones switch off. When you practice gratitude, kindness, or connection, genes involved in immune strength and longevity become more active. Your genes are not in control. You are. The epigenome is constantly gathering information from your inner and outer world. It listens to the foods you eat, the air you breathe, the amount of sleep you get, but it pays special attention to the emotional signals coursing through your bloodstream. Thoughts become emotions. Emotions become molecules. Molecules become genetic instructions. This is why two people with nearly identical DNA can have completely different health outcomes. Experiences shape gene activity, and emotions are among the most powerful experiences you have. Your environment is not just physical, it's emotional. When scientists talk about environment, many people think of pollution, sunlight, or chemicals. Those matter, but your emotional environment is just as influential. When you feel stress, your body releases cortisol and other stress molecules. These chemicals attach to receptors on your cells and can alter gene expression almost instantly. Chronic stress doesn't just make you feel drained. It sends a long-term message to your genes that the world is dangerous. Your body adapts by shifting into self-protection mode. This may increase inflammation, weaken immunity, or reduce cellular repair. But when you feel joy, love, peace, or wonder, your body produces an entirely different set of signals. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These chemicals tell your cells, you are safe, you can grow, you can heal. Emotions change biology. This is not philosophy, it's measurable science. The discovery that changed everything. The true breakthrough came when scientists realized identical twins, who share the same DNA, begin to diverge epigenetically as they age. Despite starting with identical genetic blueprints, their lives make their genes behave differently. One twin might develop a disease the other never gets. One might age faster, one slower. One might become more resilient than the other. The difference wasn't their DNA. The difference was epigenetics, and a major factor affecting their epigenetic signatures, their emotional experiences. Why epigenetics is the missing link. For years, people sensed that their mindset or emotional patterns affected their physical health, but they had no scientific explanation. Epigenetics finally provides the bridge. Your thoughts influence your emotions. Your emotions create chemical signals. These signals attach to the epigenome. The epigenome instructs your genes. Your genes determine how your cells function. Your cells shape your health, energy, appearance, and longevity. This means the way you perceive life, the story in your mind, literally instructs your biology. Your body remembers your emotions. Have you ever noticed how certain experiences leave a mark? A stressful childhood, a difficult relationship, a deep loss. These aren't just memories in your mind. They leave biological footprints. The epigenome records emotional states the way a camera captures light. Over time, repeated emotional patterns create epigenetic habits. Chronic stress becomes an epigenetic habit. Living in survival mode becomes an epigenetic habit. But so does gratitude. So does love. So does inner peace. Epigenetics shows that change doesn't require altering your DNA. You simply need to alter the signals your DNA receives. You are not controlled by your genes respond to you. For centuries, we believed in genetic determinism, the idea that genes dictate everything. But epigenetics reveals something entirely different. Your genes are listening to your life. They listen to your choices. They listen to your environment. They listen to your relationships. They listen to the thoughts you repeat. They listen to what you feel daily. Your DNA is not a prison. It is a conversation, one you are actively participating in. You are not the victim of your genetic code. You are the author of your biological future, the power hidden in awareness. Once you understand that emotions shape gene expression, everything changes. You begin to realize every moment of calm strengthens your resilience. Every moment of gratitude supports longevity. Every act of kindness changes neurological wiring. Every release of stress frees genes to repair and rebuild. Every choice to think differently becomes a biological instruction. This is where science becomes empowerment. Epigenetics is not just a biological field, it is a doorway to self-mastery. It gives you the power to influence the deepest levels of your being, not through force, not through willpower alone, but through awareness, emotional intelligence, and conscious living. You are no longer a passive observer of your inner world. You are its sculptor. Epigenetics is the meeting point of who you were born as and who you choose to become. If emotions shape your DNA, then a deeper question emerges. How? What are emotions made of? What allows something as invisible as a feeling to create real, physical change inside your cells? To understand this, you must enter one of the most fascinating frontiers of human biology, the realm where emotions become molecules, and molecules become messages that your DNA can understand. Emotions may seem like abstract experiences, but biologically they are incredibly concrete. Each emotion is a biochemical signature, a specific combination of neurotransmitters, hormones, neuropeptides, and electrical signals. Together, these form what scientists now call the molecular language of emotion, a language your cells can read fluently. This chapter is your guide into that hidden world, the chemistry beneath a feeling. Every emotion starts in the brain, triggered by a thought, memory, belief, or external event. This electrical spark activates specific brain regions like the amygdala for fear, the prefrontal cortex for decision-making, or the nucleus accumbens for joy. Instantly, the brain begins releasing molecules that match the emotion being felt. For example, joy often produces serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. Love releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Fear or stress triggers cortisol and adrenaline. Sadness alters serotonin levels and increases certain stress peptides. These chemical messengers flow through your bloodstream like tiny emotional ambassadors. And wherever they go, they deliver signals to your cells, telling them how to behave. Your body is listening to every emotion, every second of every day. Cells have emotional receptors. Inside your cells are thousands of receptors, little molecular ears designed to receive emotional messages. When a molecule like dopamine or cortisol docks onto a receptor, it sets off a chain reaction inside the cell. This reaction changes genetic activity, can activate a gene, silence a gene, speed up protein production, slow down cellular repair, trigger inflammation, boost immunity, alter energy levels. Your emotions literally instruct your cells through chemistry. This is why you can go from calm to trembling within seconds, or from stress to peaceful after a single deep breath. Molecules communicate faster than you can blink. Neuropeptides, the messengers of emotion. One of the most profound discoveries in emotional biology is the role of neuropeptides. These are small protein-like molecules that act as bridges between mind and body. Neuropeptides carry emotional information throughout your entire system. They attach to receptors on your brain, heart, gut, immune cells, endocrine glands, and even your DNA-regulating proteins. This means your body doesn't just feel emotions in your mind, it feels them everywhere. When you're stressed, your stomach tightens because stress neuropeptides bind to receptors in the gut. When you're excited, your heart races because adrenaline is signaling your cardiovascular system. When you feel deep love, oxytocin affects everything from your cells to your immune response. Every emotion has a molecular fingerprint. Cortisol, the stress signal that reaches your DNA. To truly understand the molecular language of emotion, we must explore both sides, the emotions that heal and the emotions that harm. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, is one of the clearest examples of how emotions shape gene expression. When you feel threatened, physically or emotionally, your brain signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol. This molecule enters your bloodstream and travels to nearly every cell in your body. Once inside a cell, cortisol heads straight for the nucleus, the home of your DNA. There, cortisol binds to a receptor that directly interacts with DNA, turning certain genes on or off. For example, can activate genes involved in inflammation. It can suppress genes involved in immunity. It can decrease genes responsible for cellular repair. If stress becomes chronic, cortisol becomes a constant interpreter, delivering the same message over and over. The world is dangerous. Survive. Don't thrive. This message becomes epigenetically recorded, the molecular signature of love and connection. Now, let's examine the other side of the emotional spectrum. Love, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, produces powerful molecules like oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. These chemicals strengthen the immune system, increase cellular repair, reduce inflammation, promote longevity genes, boost neural growth, stabilize mood, enhance learning and memory. But the most fascinating discovery is this. Oxytocin directly influences gene expression in areas associated with trust, bonding, and emotional resilience. It encourages your cells to activate genes linked to growth and healing rather than fear and defense. Where cortisol delivers a message of survival, oxytocin delivers a message of safety. Your cells respond accordingly. Your heart and gut speak the same language. Emotions don't stay in your head. They ripple through your entire body. Your heart, for example, contains around 40,000 specialized neurons, enough to function like a small brain. When you feel emotions like gratitude or peace, your heart's electrical rhythm becomes smooth and coherent. This coherence alters hormonal secretion throughout the body and promotes beneficial gene activity. Your gut also contains over 500 million neurons, a second emotional brain. It produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, which influence mood, immunity, and even DNA repair. This means emotion is not just a mental experience. It is a whole-body language written in chemistry, the molecular conversation between genes and feelings. Scientists now understand that emotional molecules don't just interact with cells. They impact gene-regulating proteins called histones and methyl groups. Think of these proteins as editors of your genetic script. Emotional molecules tell them what paragraphs to highlight, what sentences to cross out, what chapters to enhance. Positive emotions often open DNA regions, allowing beneficial genes to express themselves. Negative emotions often close regions, limiting genetic potential. This doesn't mean negative emotions are bad. They are natural, necessary human experiences. But when they become chronic or unresolved, their molecular signals become long-term instructions for your cells. Your emotional patterns become molecular patterns. Your molecular patterns become biological habits. Your biological habits shape your well-being. The hidden power of emotional awareness. One of the greatest gifts of understanding the molecular language of emotion is this. You realize that every emotional moment is a biological event. A moment of stress sends one message. A moment of hope sends another. A moment of gratitude can shift hormonal chemistry. A moment of connection can activate protective genes. This awareness alone begins to change your emotional landscape. The more you recognize the power behind your feelings, the more intentionally you begin to choose the emotions you cultivate. Every positive feeling, no matter how small, creates a molecular ripple. Every healing emotion is a message written directly to your DNA. You don't need perfection. You just need awareness. Because once you understand the language of emotion, you can begin to speak to your biology with intention, clarity, and compassion. Imagine your DNA as a grand library. Rows of books, each containing instructions on how your body should function, repair, grow, and react. But here is the twist. Not all books are meant to stay open all the time. Some chapters are highlighted, some are underlined, and some are sealed shut for years. What determines what gets opened or closed? A major influence, sometimes the biggest, is stress. Stress isn't just a feeling. It's a full-body biological response that sends waves of chemical signals throughout your system. When these signals are intense or prolonged, they don't merely affect your mood. They can change the way your genes behave. This is the heart of epigenetic imprints, the biology of stress more than an emotion. When you experience stress, whether it's school pressure, family conflict, financial worry, or emotional overload, your brain activates what's known as the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. This system releases cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol is not bad. In small bursts, it sharpens your senses and helps you take action. But when cortisol remains high for long periods, it starts acting like a mistaken editor in your genetic library, leaving marks, adding sticky notes, and sometimes closing down whole sections of genetic instructions. Epigenetic research shows that high stress levels can reduce the activity of genes involved in calming the nervous system, increase genes responsible for inflammation, influence genes related to memory, emotional balance, and resilience. These changes aren't random. They're adaptive responses, your body trying to prepare you to survive in a difficult environment. But if stress becomes chronic, the adaptations can begin working against you. Trauma, the deepest emotional marks. Trauma is what happens when stress becomes overwhelming, too big, too sudden, or too repeated for the mind and body to process. Trauma can come from many experiences: loss, instability, witnessing conflict, being hurt emotionally, or going through long-term struggles. What's fascinating is that trauma doesn't rewrite your DNA. Instead, it leaves epigenetic signatures that may influence how your genes express for years. Scientists studying trauma survivors found altered methylation patterns, small chemical tags that turn genes on or off. For example, genes that regulate fear and the stress response may become overactive, making someone more easily triggered. Genes that help calm the body after stress can become underactive, making relaxation difficult. Genes related to immune function may change, affecting physical health as well. It's like trauma highlights certain genetic sentences in bold red ink, ensuring the body never forgets the experience. But here is the empowering part. These marks are not permanent. Epigenetic imprints can soften, reverse, or adapt when the environment changes. Through healing, safety, supportive relationships, therapy, mindfulness, and emotional processing. How epigenetic imprints travel through generations. One of the most surprising discoveries in modern biology is that epigenetic changes caused by stress or trauma do not always stop with the person who experienced them. In certain cases, the marks can be passed on. Studies with mice showed that exposure to stress changed the behavior and gene expression of their offspring, even those never exposed to the original stressor. Similar patterns have been observed in human populations affected by historical trauma, famine, war, or severe hardship. However, and this is important, inheritance of trauma marks does not mean someone is doomed to repeat the past. It simply means they may start life with a different genetic setting, one that can still be changed. Epigenetics does not lock the future. It shows how deeply the environment matters, and how deeply healing can matter too. The stress gene feedback loop. Stress doesn't only change gene expression. Gene expression influences how you respond to stress. Creates a loop. High stress raises cortisol. Cortisol alters gene activity. Altered gene activity affects your emotional responses. Those emotional responses influence how much stress you experience. This loop is how stress becomes encoded in the body. But here's the breakthrough. Anything that interrupts the loop, mindfulness, supportive relationships, grounding practices, positive experiences, can begin rewriting the epigenetic notes stuck to your DNA. You are not stuck with the imprints of your past. You are always editing your inner library, every day, every moment, with every emotional shift. The difference between bad stress and growth stress. Not all stress is harmful. There's a term called eustress, the healthy, motivating type of stress that pushes you to grow. Things like learning new skills, pursuing goals, facing challenges, discovering your identity, trying something difficult. This positive stress activates genes related to focus, resilience, and growth. What we want to avoid is chronic stress, the kind that feels unending and exhausting. When emotional overwhelm becomes constant, the epigenetic markers begin accumulating. But with rest, support, and emotional regulation, the system resets. How stress imprints show up in the body. Epigenetic changes from stress can influence 1. Emotional regulation. Genes responsible for calming the nervous system may slow down, making reactions stronger or faster. 2. Memory and learning. Stress markers can affect the hippocampus, which plays a key role in forming healthy memories. 3. Immune system. Some genes may activate inflammation more easily. 4. Energy and metabolism. Chronic cortisol influences the genes that regulate energy, sleep cycles, and hunger cues. These aren't broken systems. They are adapted systems responding to the environment you've been in. Healing, the rewriting process. If stressful experiences can add epigenetic marks, then healing experiences can remove or rewrite them. Research shows that supportive friends, emotional safety, mindfulness and meditation, therapy, creative expression, healthy habits, positive environments, all have measurable effects on gene expression. In other words, healing is molecular. It's not just emotional. It changes you at the deepest biological level. And most importantly, your genes are constantly listening to your life. Every calm moment, every deep breath, every connection, every act of self-care is a new instruction being written into your DNA's expression. Stress may leave marks, yes, but so does peace, so does joy, so does growth. Your body is always updating your inner code, and you have more influence than you realize. If stress can leave scratches on your genetic code, then positive emotions are the gentle hands that polish, restore, and sometimes completely repair what life has damaged. This might sound poetic, but it's also grounded in solid science. Your DNA is not a rigid structure trapped in time. It is constantly being repaired, rewritten, and refreshed, and your emotional state plays a surprisingly powerful role in that process. Your DNA is always breaking and healing. Every single day, your cells experience tens of thousands of DNA breaks. Some come from sunlight, toxins, or environmental exposure, but a surprising number come from normal internal processes like metabolism. To deal with this chaos, your body uses DNA repair mechanisms, tiny molecular repair crews that patch up damage and keep everything functioning. These systems include base excision repair, nucleotide excision repair, double-strand break repair, mismatch repair. They sound technical, but the idea is simple. Your body has a built-in maintenance team, always on duty, always fixing what needs fixing. What scientists discovered is that emotional states influence how efficiently this repair crew works. Positive emotions don't magically erase life's problems, but they do create a biological environment where renewal is easier, faster, and more complete. The biology of joy, love, gratitude, and peace. Positive emotions are not random feelings floating around in your mind. They are biochemical events. When you feel joy, gratitude, contentment, hope, or affection, your brain releases a cocktail of molecules that directly affect your cells. Some of the most influential include serotonin, improves cellular communication and reduces stress signals. Oxytocin, supports bonding, reduces cortisol, and improves tissue repair. Dopamine, enhances motivation and activates genetic pathways tied to regeneration. Endorphins, lower pain, reduce inflammation, and boost immune function. Together, these chemicals create a state of internal safety. In that safety, your biology shifts out of survival mode and into rest, repair, grow. Survival mode conserves energy to protect you. Repair mode spends energy to heal you. Positive emotions are one of the fastest ways to tip the balance toward repair. How positive emotions turn on cellular repair genes. Epigenetics shows that emotional states can activate or silence genes. Several studies have demonstrated that people experiencing sustained positive moods show increased expression of genes involved in DNA repair, enhanced telomerase activity, stronger immune cell regeneration, reduced inflammatory gene activation. This is not a metaphor. This is literal gene activation. One of the most powerful examples is how positive emotions affect telomeres. Telomeres are protective caps on the ends of DNA strands. When they shorten too much, cells age or malfunction. Positive emotional states increase the activity of telomerase, the enzyme that rebuilds telomeres. That means joy doesn't just feel good. It leaves a molecular signature that strengthens your genetic stability. The state of coherence, when emotions and biology sync. There's a state researchers call physiological coherence, where the heart, nervous system, hormones, and brain fall into a coordinated rhythm. This happens during positive emotional moments such as gratitude, appreciation, compassion, peaceful focus, love, hope. During coherence, the nervous system becomes balanced, cortisol decreases, inflammation lowers, and DNA repair mechanisms activate more efficiently. It's almost like your entire internal world is exhaling. Coherence isn't mystical. It's biology settling into harmony after being knocked around by stress. The surprising power of social connection. Positive emotions do not always come from within. Often they come from connection. A supportive friend, a trusted adult, a caring environment, or even a good conversation can influence your biological state. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, plays a huge role here. Moments of connection release oxytocin, which lowers fear responses, reduces cortisol, increases resilience, supports healing and tissue repair, improves immune function. Connection is not just psychological comfort. It is genetic protection. Even simple prosocial behaviors, helping someone, expressing kindness, or sharing a meaningful moment can trigger these shifts. Joy as a protective factor against stress damage. Positive emotion doesn't erase stress, but it does buffer your system against the damage stress can cause. Think of it like repairing cracks in concrete before they get too deep. The repairs don't prevent weather from happening, but they make the structure far more durable. When you experience joy or gratitude, your genes respond with lower inflammatory gene activity, lower oxidative stress, higher antioxidant production, improved mitochondrial function, more efficient protein synthesis. All of these contribute to stronger, healthier cells. Your emotions literally teach your genes how to behave. How hope and optimism influence cellular health. Hope is not just a mental concept. It has biological effects. People with higher levels of optimism show stronger immune gene expression and better DNA repair activity. Why? Because hope reduces chronic stress signals, and lowering stress makes room for the body to focus on restoration. Optimism does not mean ignoring your problems. It means believing your life can get better. That belief reduces threat perception in the brain, which lowers the biological stress cascade. A calmer body repairs itself more effectively. Micromoments matter. The biggest myth about positive emotions is that they need to be intense or constant. You don't need to be joyful all day. You don't need a perfect life. You don't need endless bliss. What the science shows is that tiny, repeated positive moments create significant epigenetic impact. These micro-moments accumulate into real biological change. Quiet breath, a moment of laughter, a feeling of relief, a meaningful hug, a flash of gratitude, calm morning, a walk outside. These small emotional sparks repeatedly signal safety, which repeatedly activates repair pathways. Healing is not one huge moment. It is thousands of tiny ones. Your emotional environment shapes your biological future. Positive emotions are not luxury items or personality quirks. They are part of your biological survival strategy. They help you adapt, restore, and rebuild. Your DNA is listening to the emotional environment you live in. If the environment is danger, genes shift toward defense. If the environment is safety, genes shift toward renewal. If the environment is connection, genes shift toward resilience. If the environment is joy, genes shift toward repair and long-term stability. Positive emotions are like sunlight for the genome. They awaken energy, growth, and healing. You don't need perfection to benefit from them, just consistency. Every healthy emotional experience you allow yourself becomes a small act of genetic maintenance. Every moment of peace is an invitation for your cells to repair. Every moment of gratitude is a signal for your body to soften. Every act of kindness strengthens your internal world. Your emotions are not just temporary sensations. They are instructions, and your DNA responds to them every day. For decades, people thought meditation was simply a relaxation technique, something that calms the mind, slows the breath, and makes you feel peaceful for a few moments. But modern science has revealed something far more extraordinary. Meditation doesn't just change your mind, it can influence your genes. Yes, your genetic blueprint, the code that determines how your body works, can be shaped by the way you think, breathe, and focus. Not by rewriting the DNA sequence itself, but by changing how genes are expressed. This is epigenetics in action, and meditation is one of the most powerful tools for it. The science behind the stillness. When you meditate, you're not simply stopping thoughts. What you're doing is guiding the brain into a different state, a state where stress hormones lower, calming chemicals rise, and neural networks reorganize. These internal shifts create biochemical messages that travel from the brain to every cell in your body. The result? Genes involved in stress, inflammation, healing, and longevity begin adjusting their activity. In one study, researchers found that just 15 minutes of mindfulness produced measurable changes in gene expression, changes similar to what occurs after hours of rest. Another found that long-term meditators had lower levels of inflammatory gene activity and higher activation of genes involved in DNA repair. Meditation, in short, is a conversation with your biology. Stress genes turn down, healing genes turn up. We learned in previous chapters that chronic stress can activate genetic programs related to inflammation, tension, and emotional overwhelm. Meditation acts like the off switch for those programs. Here's what happens during consistent mindfulness practice. 1. Cortisol levels drop. Lower stress hormones mean fewer harmful epigenetic markers are added to your genes. 2. Inflammation genes quiet down. Meditation reduces the expression of NF-kappa B, a gene that drives inflammation in the body. 3. Telomerase increases. Telomerase is the enzyme that protects your telomeres, the caps on your chromosomes related to aging and cellular health. Meditation boosts it. 4. DNA repair genes activate. Cells enter a restoration mode, repairing oxidative damage and supporting long-term resilience. 5. Brain-regulating genes rebalance. Genes linked to emotional regulation, attention, and empathy become more active. Meditation shifts your biology from survival mode to healing mode. Mindfulness and the nervous system, a biological reset. Meditation strengthens the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural relaxation and repair network. This calming system communicates directly with your cells and influences gene activity through the vagus nerve. When the body is in a mindful state, heart rate slows, breathing deepens, muscles relax, digestion improves. The brain shifts into balanced, coherent rhythms. This sends a powerful message to your cells. You are safe. Safety is the key that unlocks genetic healing. When your biology senses safety, it reopens genes related to growth and closes genes related to fear. Neuroplasticity meets epigenetics. Meditation is often associated with neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its wiring. But neuroscientists now know this rewiring is supported by epigenetic processes. When you meditate, neurons strengthen new pathways, old reactive patterns weaken, memory circuits sharpen, emotional centers regulate more efficiently. Epigenetic tags help stabilize these changes, making the new patterns more permanent. It's like meditation installs software updates in the brain and epigenetics locks in the improvements. You're not just calming your mind, you're reprogramming it from the molecular level up. The power of breathwork on gene expression. Many meditation practices use controlled breathing. Breathwork is more than a relaxation method, it is a biological switch. Slow, diaphragmatic breathing activates the vagus nerve, reduces inflammatory signals, influences genes linked to emotional balance, lowers cortisol, improves mitochondrial function. Fast or rhythmic breathwork can stimulate energy-regulating genes and increase oxygen flow, helping cells operate more efficiently. Your breath, quite literally, carries instructions to your DNA. Mindfulness practices that influence your genetic code. Different meditation styles produce different epigenetic effects. Here are some major ones. 1. Mindfulness meditation awareness training. This practice improves attention and emotional regulation. It reduces stress-related gene activity and enhances genes responsible for clarity and focus. 2. Loving-kindness meditation, heart healing. This one boosts genes involved in empathy and social connection. It also raises oxytocin, which influences healing and immune function. 3. Mantra meditation, sound-based focus. Repetitive sound or phrases calm the mind and improve synchrony in brainwaves, influencing genes linked to resilience and emotional balance. 4. Breathwork meditation. Deep breathing patterns quickly alter stress genes and send anti-inflammatory signals throughout the body. 5. Body scan meditation. This increases body awareness, reduces muscle tension, and signals the nervous system to shift into healing mode. 6. Movement meditation, e.g., walking meditation. These increase presence and reduce overactivation of stress circuits. All of these practices influence the genetic blueprint in their own way, some subtly, some dramatically. How meditation heals emotional imprints. Earlier chapters explained how stress and trauma can leave chemical marks on genes. Meditation is one of the strongest known tools to soften, reduce, or even reverse those marks. Meditation works because it reduces stress hormones, balances emotional circuits, creates a sense of safety, supports the brain in processing old wounds, increases awareness without judgment. Over time, the body begins updating outdated genetic settings, quieting fear, releasing tension, and opening pathways for stability and emotional clarity. Every moment of mindful presence tells your genes, it's time to heal. Your blueprint is not fixed. The most empowering discovery in modern science is this: your genes are not your destiny. Meditation shows us that daily experiences can reshape genetic expression. Even a few minutes a day can influence mood, stress resilience, immune strength, cellular aging, memory, emotional balance, physical health. You're not a prisoner of your biology. You're a co-author. Meditation is one of the tools that lets you write the next chapter. The 5-minute rule. Small acts, big changes. You don't need long sessions or perfect technique to receive benefits. Even short, consistent practice creates epigenetic effects. 5 mindful minutes, calm stress circuits, trigger healing chemistry, improve focus, begin shifting gene expression, start forming new neural pathways. The effects layer over time, like drops filling a bucket until it overflows into transformation. The future is epigenetic awareness. As science continues connecting mindfulness with biology, the world is beginning to understand something ancient cultures knew all along. Inner peace is a form of medicine. Not metaphorically, biologically. Meditation is not about escaping life. It's about strengthening the inner environment that shapes how your genes behave. Your genetic blueprint is dynamic, living, and responsive. And every mindful breath is an instruction your DNA can hear. You are constantly shaping who you become, not just through choices, not just through habits, but through the way you guide your inner world. Meditation gives you the ability to rewrite your code from within. For years, scientists believed the brain and the digestive system were separate worlds, one responsible for thought and consciousness, the other for digestion and nutrient absorption. But today, we know these two systems are in constant conversation. And hidden deep within this dialogue lies a third participant, your DNA. Your gut, your brain, and your genetic code form a triad so interconnected that what happens in one area can rapidly influence the others. This is the gut-brain-DNA axis, one of the most influential biological systems shaping human health, emotion, and genetic expression. At the center of this story is the microbiome, the vast ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and microorganisms living inside your digestive tract. These tiny organisms don't just digest food. They produce neurotransmitters, regulate inflammation, shape your immune system, and generate chemical messages that travel directly to your brain. In fact, over 90% of your body's serotonin, the neurotransmitter linked to happiness and emotional balance, is produced not in the brain but in the gut. When the microbiome is healthy and diverse, it sends signals of balance and safety. But when it's disrupted through chronic stress, trauma, poor diet, or inflammation, it sends distress signals that influence everything from mood to memory to gene behavior. The key link lies in a network of nerves known as the vagus nerve, the direct hotline between your gut and your brain. Every time you feel butterflies, a gut instinct, or a sinking feeling, it's the vagus nerve transmitting emotion from your digestive system to your mind. But it also transmits signals back down, shaping the chemical environment your cells must respond to, and in turn influencing epigenetic switches throughout the body. Stress and the microbiome, a two-way loop. Chronic stress doesn't only affect your mood, it directly alters the microbiome. Elevated cortisol levels can reduce beneficial bacteria and encourage the growth of harmful strains. In turn, these harmful strains generate inflammatory chemicals that affect the brain, creating anxiety, depression, or chronic fatigue, and also impact DNA methylation patterns linked to aging, immune dysfunction, and metabolic disease. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. Stress changes your gut. Your altered gut sends stress signals to your brain. The brain enhances stress chemistry. Stress chemistry drives negative epigenetic changes in your DNA. Those genetic changes strengthen the stress response even further. This loop can continue for years unless something breaks the cycle. Scientists have found that childhood trauma often leaves long-lasting imprints on the microbiome. These microbial imbalances then amplify stress reactivity in adulthood, influencing gene expression patterns connected to inflammation and emotional regulation. In other words, the gut can remember trauma just as vividly as the mind, and it transmits those memories into your biology. The microbiome as an epigenetic architect. Your gut bacteria don't simply respond to emotional states. They create chemicals that directly influence genetic activity. For example, certain gut microbes produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, like butyrate, which stabilize DNA and support healthy gene expression. Others generate metabolites that can activate or silence immune-related genes. Microbial signals can modulate histone acetylation, affecting how tightly DNA is wound and how easily genes can be accessed. This means your microbial environment is constantly rewriting your genetic instructions. A diverse microbiome activates genes linked to resilience, longevity, and emotional balance. A degraded microbiome activates genes linked to inflammation, anxiety, and accelerated aging. Food as genetic information. The foods you eat determine which microbes thrive inside you, and those microbes then shape how your genes behave. This makes every meal a form of genetic communication. Fiber-rich foods feed bacteria that produce butyrate, which enhances DNA repair and reduces harmful gene activation. Fermented foods introduce beneficial microbes that reduce inflammation and stabilize epigenetic markers. Highly processed foods promote bacterial strains that trigger stress chemistry and disrupt gene regulation. It's not the food itself that changes genes, it's how the microbiome responds to the food. Your gut bacteria are like microscopic genetic engineers. They turn nutrients into biochemical messages, and those messages are delivered to your DNA. The emotional gut. Emotions, too, change your gut, sometimes almost instantly. Anxiety can halt digestion within seconds. Sadness slows gut motility. Anger triggers inflammation. Chronic loneliness or grief can shrink microbial diversity. Each of these emotional states creates a biochemical ripple. Emotion, microbiome shift, brain feedback, epigenetic response. A thought can change a gene because a thought changes your chemistry, and your chemistry changes your microbes, and your microbes change your molecular signals. This is the gut-brain DNA axis in action. Healing the gut to heal the mind and the genes. One of the most promising discoveries in modern biology is that improving gut health can upregulate genes linked to emotional resilience, stress recovery, longevity, cognitive clarity, immune strength. For example, probiotic supplementation has been shown to normalize epigenetic markers linked to inflammation. Certain microbial strains can increase GABA, a calming neurotransmitter that reduces stress-driven gene activation. Diets rich in prebiotics, microbe-feeding fibers, improve gene expression patterns associated with neuroplasticity. Even more extraordinary, gut-based interventions have been shown to reverse some trauma-related epigenetic signatures, suggesting that healing your microbiome can help rewrite emotional and genetic imprints from your past. The gut as an emotional oracle. Your gut doesn't just digest food. It senses danger. It interprets your emotional landscape, calibrates your genetic responses. Some scientists even call the gut the second brain. But this is incomplete. The gut is actually the first environment your genes respond to every single day. You can think of your gut as the lens through which your DNA views the world. A balanced gut tells your DNA, you are safe, grow, repair, thrive. A disrupted gut tells your DNA, you are in danger, conserve energy, prepare for threat. And your genes respond accordingly, taking back control of the triad. When you nurture your gut, you influence your brain. When you influence your brain, you shift your emotional chemistry. And when that chemistry changes, your DNA receives new instructions, healthier instructions, more resilient instructions, more life-affirming instructions. This is the power of the gut-brain DNA connection. By restoring microbial health through nutrition, emotional regulation, mindfulness, and stress reduction, you create an internal environment that tells your genes to calm inflammation, repair damage, enhance immunity, and slow biological aging. Your gut is not just a system. It's a portal into your emotional world and your genetic destiny. For thousands of years, spiritual traditions have taught that the emotional wounds of one generation echo into the lives of the next. People spoke of family curses, ancestral traumas, and emotional patterns passed down like invisible inheritance. For a long time, science dismissed these ideas as symbolic, useful metaphors, but not literal truth. But today, epigenetics has revealed something extraordinary. Our emotional experiences can leave molecular marks that influence our children, grandchildren, and beyond, not by changing the DNA sequence itself, but by altering the epigenetic tags that determine how genes express. In other words, your inner world doesn't end with you. It becomes part of your biological legacy, the hidden inheritance. Traditionally, inheritance meant genes, fixed sequences of A, T, C, and G. But epigenetic marks, such as methyl groups and histone modifications, can also be passed through sperm, egg cells, or even during pregnancy. These marks carry biological memories of a parent's environment, emotions, stress levels, and overall experience. Studies on mice showed that when a generation experienced chronic stress or fear, their offspring were born with heightened stress responses, even if the offspring never experienced the same dangers. Similar patterns are emerging in human research. Children of parents who lived through extreme trauma may show altered cortisol patterns, increased sensitivity to stress, and changes in emotional regulation. What this suggests is profound. Your emotional healing is not just for you. It's for your future lineage. Wounds that echo through the generations. Imagine a parent who endured intense stress or trauma growing up. Their nervous system learned hypervigilance, always scanning for danger. Epigenetically, the genes responsible for stress response may become more active, while calming or resilience-related genes may become less active. If these epigenetic patterns pass to their child, the child may enter the world with a nervous system already tuned toward anxiety, caution, or heightened sensitivity. This doesn't doom the child. It simply shows how biology prepares new generations based on the emotional world of prior ones. It's an adaptive mechanism. If the previous generation lived in danger, nature may prepare the next generation with amplified alertness. Conversely, if a generation lived in safety and nurturing, the next may inherit calmer biological settings. This is not a punishment or curse. It is an ancient survival strategy. But it also means that unhealed emotional wounds can ripple forward. Emotional patterns are inherited but not final. Here is the empowering truth. Epigenetic marks are reversible. They are not permanent labels. They are instructions that can change with new experiences, environments, and emotions. If fear can be passed forward, so can healing. If stress can imprint your DNA, so can calm. If trauma can create generational echoes, so can conscious emotional transformation. Your biology is not a prison. It is a conversation. And every healthy choice you make, emotionally, mentally, physically, becomes a new message your genes can pass forward. Parents, your emotions are a blueprint. Whether you are a parent, hope to become one someday, or simply want to understand your origins, it's important to see how emotional environments shape future generations. During pregnancy, a mother's emotional environment influences the developing child through hormones, immune signals, and epigenetic marks. Chronic stress may heighten a child's stress reactivity, while calm, connected emotional states tune the child toward resilience. Before conception, a father's emotional and physical experiences can affect the epigenetics of his sperm. Diet, stress levels, emotional regulation, lifestyle choices all shape the epigenetic information carried into conception. After birth, even beyond genetics, a child's environment continues shaping gene expression. Loving touch, emotional attunement, play, safety, and connection help activate genes of growth and resilience. This means that your emotional healing today becomes a gift to future generations before they are even born. Healing yourself changes the story for those who come after you. Generational patterns, whether emotional or biological, are not destiny. You have the ability to reshape your inner environment in ways your ancestors may have never imagined possible. Each time you regulate your stress, you quiet the epigenetic switches that fuel fear. Each time you practice gratitude, you activate pathways of repair. Each time you meditate, breathe deeply, and choose peace over panic, you rewrite the emotional code your body carries. You break cycles. You create new ones. You become the turning point in your lineage. Your ancestors' experiences shaped you, but you are not bound by them. Many people feel the weight of family history. Patterns of anxiety, fear, anger, or sorrow that seem to travel from one generation to the next like a river no one knows how to stop. Epigenetics helps explain why this happens, but it also reveals something deeply liberating. You are not condemned to repeat the emotional patterns you inherited. Your biology is malleable. Your emotions are powerful. And your choices send ripples into the future. You can be the ancestor who broke the chain, the legacy of positive emotion. When we talk about generational patterns, it's easy to focus on trauma, but positive emotional states create generational blessings too. Love strengthens immune-related epigenetic pathways. Connected families pass on calmer nervous systems. Laughter and joy imprint hormonal patterns that promote resilience. Communities built on trust and support create biological environments that foster thriving. Your joy today is not small. Your healing is not insignificant. Your peace is a future inheritance. You are a living intersection of past and future. Within you, thousands of years of emotional history converge. You carry echoes of your ancestors' struggles and triumphs, their fears and their hopes, their moments of darkness and their bursts of light. But you are not just the product of your past. you are also the author of your future. Epigenetics shows that the emotional choices you make today, how you respond to stress, how you cultivate connection, how you choose to feel and heal, shape the biological foundation of the generations who will follow. You are not just living your life. You are altering the trajectory of your lineage. You are creating the biological blueprint of tomorrow. And that is one of the deepest powers you hold. Imagine if you had a switch inside your body, something you could use to calm your stress, regulate your emotions, and activate the genes that help your body heal and stay balanced. Now imagine that this switch wasn't hidden in some lab or locked behind medical technology, but built directly into your nervous system. This is the idea behind emotional freedom techniques, commonly called EFT or tapping. At first glance, EFT looks deceptively simple. You lightly tap on specific acupressure points on your body while focusing on an emotion, belief, or memory. But beneath this simplicity lies a powerful neurobiological process. EFT works on the principle that the mind and body are deeply interconnected. When emotions become overwhelming, they don't just float in your mind. They manifest in your nervous system, your hormones, and eventually your gene expression. Tapping acts like a reset signal, calming the emotional charge and creating space for healthier biological responses. The science behind tapping. To understand how EFT influences your DNA, we need to explore what happens inside your body when you tap. Studies show that tapping reduces activity in the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. When the amygdala quiets down, your body shifts out of the stress response. Cortisol levels drop. Heart rate stabilizes. Muscles relax. This alone has huge implications for gene expression, because chronic stress is one of the strongest disruptors of DNA integrity. But tapping goes further than calming stress. It also stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body responsible for healing, digestion, and restoring balance. When this system activates, biological resources shift away from survival mode and toward repair mode. In this state, genes linked to immunity, growth, and cellular maintenance become more active. That means EFT isn't just a psychological tool. It creates measurable physiological shifts that influence the molecular environment around your DNA. Emotional release and epigenetic resetting. One of the most intriguing ideas in modern epigenetics is that unresolved emotions can become stored in your body, not as memories sitting on your skin or muscles, but as patterns of stress signaling that influence gene behavior. For example, if someone experiences ongoing fear or pressure, certain genes related to inflammation, sensitivity to stress, or emotional regulation may stay switched on or off. EFT works by helping your body release the emotional tension that keeps these patterns in place. Think of it like resetting a stuck switch. When you tap while focusing on a difficult emotion, you aren't suppressing it. You're allowing the nervous system to process it safely. As the emotional charge decreases, your body no longer sends stress signals that tell your genes to stay in alert mode. Over time, this can encourage healthier gene expression patterns. Some researchers even describe tapping as a form of epigenetic hygiene because it prevents emotional stress from accumulating and affecting your long-term biology. Tapping on positive states, activating healing pathways. Most people think EFT is only about clearing painful emotions, but it can also be used to reinforce positive ones. Once the nervous system is calm and responsive, tapping while focusing on states like gratitude, peace, or confidence can support the biology associated with these emotions. Positive emotions have been shown to increase telomerase activity, support DNA repair, strengthen immune function, balance hormone levels, reduce inflammatory gene expression. Tapping amplifies these benefits because it signals safety to the brain at the same moment you're generating positive emotional meaning. This combination, emotional intention plus physiological coherence, creates ideal conditions for healthy genes to activate. In other words, tapping doesn't just remove emotional noise. It helps your body tune into the emotional frequencies that support healing and growth. Why tapping works so quickly? One of the most surprising findings about EFT is how fast it works. In some studies, cortisol levels drop within minutes. Emotional intensity decreases in a single session. People often report feeling lighter, clearer, or more grounded right away. Why is it so fast? Because tapping directly stimulates meridian points, the same ones used in acupuncture, which have strong connections to the nervous system. When you tap these points, sensory signals travel to the brain, interrupting stress patterns and promoting calm. Think of stress as a looping alarm. Tapping interrupts the loop. The alarm turns off. Your body quiets down. Your genes stop receiving danger messages. A different set of genes, those associated with restoration, begin to take over. It's a simple technique with deep biological consequences. The role of self-acceptance. A key ingredient of EFT is the affirmation that pairs with tapping. Often it begins with, "Even though I feel this emotion, I deeply and completely accept myself." This may seem like a small statement, but it carries powerful psychological and biological weight. Self-acceptance reduces internal conflict. When you're not fighting your emotions, the body relaxes. Resistance weakens. The mind-body system shifts from survival to openness. And this shift directly affects gene expression. Self-acceptance sends a message of internal safety, which is one of the strongest signals for cellular healing. Tapping and emotional memory. When a difficult experience becomes encoded in memory, it's not stored as plain information. It's stored with a biochemical signature, hormones, neural patterns, and epigenetic marks that reflect the emotion felt at the time. When you recall that memory years later, your body often recreates the same stress response. This is why certain memories feel alive. EFT disrupts this loop by allowing the brain to recall the memory while the body remains calm. Over time, the brain refiles the memory without the intense emotional charge. This process is known as memory reconsolidation, and it is one of the brain's most powerful tools for transformation. By removing the emotional stress tied to memories, you reduce the biochemical patterns that influence gene expression. Tapping gives you access to this rewiring process. EFT as a tool for emotional resilience. The ultimate purpose of emotional freedom techniques is not to eliminate emotions, but to help you navigate them without being overwhelmed. Emotional resilience is one of the healthiest biological states a person can cultivate. It reduces chronic stress, lowers inflammation, stabilizes hormones, and supports a strong immune system. When your emotions move freely rather than getting stuck, your DNA reflects that freedom. Your genes become more adaptive, flexible, and responsive to positive cues. Tapping trains your nervous system to return to balance more quickly. It's like giving your body a built-in emotional reset button. The bigger picture: you are not at the mercy of your biology. EFT is one of many tools showing that your emotional world has immense influence over your physical world. It reminds you that your body is not a passive machine. It's an intelligent, dynamic system that listens to your inner experience. You aren't trapped by your genes. You influence them. You shape them. You guide them. Tapping is simply one method that helps you do it consciously. By calming emotional stress, releasing old patterns, and reinforcing positive states, EFT creates the ideal internal environment for your DNA to support healing, clarity, and growth. It strengthens the bridge between emotional health and genetic expression. As scientists continue exploring the mind-body connection, one message becomes increasingly clear. Your emotions are not separate from your biology. They are your biology, and you have far more influence over your genetic destiny than you've ever been taught. If there is one emotion that humanity has tried to define, chase, protect, and understand since the beginning of civilization, it is love. But modern science has revealed something astonishing about this ancient force. Love does not only shape your relationships, it shapes your genetics. The warmth you feel in moments of connection, the sense of safety you experience in relationships, the comfort of being understood, these aren't just fleeting feelings. They create biological changes that ripple through your cells, your immune system, your stress response, and even the way your DNA expresses itself. Love, in its many forms, romantic, familial, platonic, spiritual, acts as a stabilizing force within the body. When love is present, the internal environment of the human organism shifts toward coherence. And where there is coherence, there is healing. Love as a biological environment. At the molecular level, emotions generate biochemical reactions, neuropeptides, hormones, neurotransmitters that interact with your genes. Love is one of the most powerful emotional states because it speaks the body's safety language. When you feel loved or deeply connected, your body releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, serotonin, associated with mood and well-being, endorphins, natural pain relievers, vagus nerve activation, which calms the entire nervous system. This biochemical harmony signals your body that it is safe. And safety is the key condition required for the body to perform its highest functions: repair, regeneration, immune strengthening, hormonal balance, emotional clarity, and creativity. In a safe internal environment, your genes shift away from defense mode, where survival takes priority, and return to growth mode, where repair, learning, and cellular renewal occur. Oxytocin, the molecular signature of love. Of all the molecules associated with love, oxytocin is the most deeply intertwined with genetic expression. Researchers have found that oxytocin reduces inflammation in cells, calms the amygdala, fear center, lowers cortisol levels, enhances immune gene activation, increases trust and bonding, strengthens vagal tone, improving emotional regulation. When oxytocin rises, genes related to defense and high alert decrease their activity, while genes related to healing and longevity become more active. In this sense, love doesn't just feel good, it reduces the biological wear and tear that ages the body. Studies in epigenetics show that people who maintain supportive relationships tend to have lower biological age, longer telomeres, healthier methylation patterns, fewer inflammatory markers, better stress recovery. Love leaves molecular footprints, connection and coherence, the heart's role. The heart is more than a pump. It is an electrical and energetic center with its own nervous system. When you experience love or appreciation, your heart rhythm becomes smooth, stable, and harmonious. This state is known as heart coherence. Heart coherence has been shown to influence gene expression, particularly genes involved in immune function, hormonal balance, cellular regeneration, stress resilience. Heart coherence produces electromagnetic waves that synchronize with the brain, a process known as cardioneural alignment. In this state, your emotional, mental, and biological systems operate in synergy. When people interact, hugging, speaking, or simply sitting close, their heart rhythms can synchronize. Scientists call this physiological resonance, and it is a measurable example of human connection shaping biology. In moments of genuine love or empathy, your body is literally tuning itself to another human being. Love as stress antidote, reversing genetic damage. Stress, trauma, and emotional wounds can create epigenetic marks that disrupt normal gene activity. These marks often silence beneficial genes and activate inflammatory or survival-based pathways. Love acts as a biological counterforce. Healthy relationships, whether with family, friends, or a supportive community are associated with faster recovery from stress, lower cortisol throughout the day, reduced systemic inflammation, higher expression of immune-strengthening genes, protection against anxiety and depressive states. In other words, connection heals what isolation harms. Loneliness, on the other hand, is one of the strongest predictors of genetic dysregulation. It activates inflammatory gene pathways, decreases antiviral responses, and accelerates aging. This doesn't mean you need constant social contact. What matters is the quality of connection, feeling understood, valued, and emotionally safe. One meaningful relationship can reshape your biology more than 1,000 acquaintances. Love and telomeres, slowing the biological clock. Telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes, determine your rate of cellular aging. Stress shortens telomeres. Love protects them. Research shows that people who experience more emotional warmth, affection, and connection maintain longer telomeres over time. Even simple practices, expressing gratitude to someone, feeling supported, or connecting deeply in conversation, can influence telomere-maintaining enzymes. This means love literally slows aging at the chromosomal level. Attachment, safety, and genetic programming. Your earliest experiences with caregivers shape your stress response system. When babies receive consistent affection and emotional connection, their bodies form strong vagal pathways and balanced cortisol responses. These early emotional histories can leave lasting epigenetic marks that influence emotional regulation, immunity, anxiety sensitivity, resilience, social bonding. But here is the empowering part. Epigenetic marks are reversible. Even if someone didn't experience strong emotional safety growing up, nurturing relationships later in life can shift their biology toward balance, offering the nervous system a new template of safety. Love, at any age, can recalibrate your emotional DNA. Love beyond romance, multiple pathways to genetic harmony. Love doesn't need to be romantic to be biologically transformative. It can appear in many forms: deep friendships, family bonds, mentorship, spiritual connection, community belonging, self-love and self-compassion, love for one's purpose or passion. Each form generates its own unique biochemical signature, but all share one core message to the body. You are safe. You belong. You matter. And when the body receives that message often enough, its genes respond with balance, coherence, and healing. Self-love, the most overlooked genetic signal. Perhaps the most profound relationship of all is the one you have with yourself. The way you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself mentally and emotionally, sends constant signals to your genes. Self-criticism activates stress pathways. Self-kindness activates repair pathways. Self-love, practiced through compassion, patience, forgiveness, and acceptance, creates an internal environment of safety similar to that triggered by external love. In this sense, every moment of self-love is an epigenetic gift, a signal that encourages the body to heal rather than defend. The genetic symphony of love. When you experience love, whether from another or from within, your entire biology shifts into harmony. Your heart beats differently. Your brain waves synchronize. Your hormones stabilize. Your immune system strengthens. Your genes activate pathways of healing, renewal, and longevity. Love is not merely an emotion. It is a molecular language, a biological shield, a genetic conductor, a force that shapes your cellular destiny. In the symphony of your DNA, love is the master key that brings the entire system into rhythm. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, glowing network, threads of light stretching in every direction. Each thread represents a possible path, a choice, a thought, or a feeling. And in your hands is a device that can illuminate these threads, guiding energy down the pathways that lead to growth, resilience, and health. That device is your emotional awareness. If previous chapters have shown us anything, it is that emotions are not fleeting, random experiences. They are molecular instructions, delivering messages to your DNA, shaping your cells, influencing your body, and even leaving marks on future generations. The realization is both humbling and empowering. Your inner life is a creative force. Your emotional landscape is the brush, and your DNA is the canvas. Harnessing emotions to shape your destiny is the art and science of conscious emotional mastery. Understanding emotional influence. Your DNA is not a static code. It is responsive. Each emotion you feel triggers a cascade of biochemical signals that impact gene expression. Stress, anger, fear, or resentment may activate genes that promote inflammation, accelerate aging, or weaken immunity. Joy, gratitude, love, and compassion activate genes associated with healing, cellular repair, and longevity. The key insight here is simple yet profound. Your emotional state determines the biological environment in which your DNA operates. And if you can learn to intentionally cultivate positive emotional states, you can literally guide your genetic expression in ways that enhance your health, well-being, and resilience. This is not pseudoscience. Studies on epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, and effective neuroscience all confirm that the body listens to emotional signals, translating feelings into chemical messages that influence your genes. The role of awareness in emotional mastery. The first step in harnessing emotion is awareness. Most of our emotional patterns operate on autopilot. Stress triggers, habitual fears, and reactive anger cycles shape gene expression without us even noticing. Awareness allows you to observe emotions without being consumed by them. Instead of automatically reacting, you can pause, label the emotion, identify its trigger, choose how to respond. This simple practice shifts the biochemical output from the nervous system. A reactive stress response produces cortisol and adrenaline. A mindful response produces dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, molecules that encourage healing and longevity. Awareness is the first molecular intervention in your body. Techniques to harness emotions. There are concrete practices that allow you to shape your emotional state and influence your DNA. 1. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness shifts gene expression toward reduced inflammation and increased immune function. Even short daily sessions have been shown to activate genes associated with DNA repair and cellular resilience. 2. Gratitude and positive reflection. Gratitude practices elevate dopamine and serotonin, enhancing protective gene activity. Reflecting on positive experiences, even for a few minutes a day, creates lasting biochemical benefits. 3. Emotional freedom techniques, EFT. Tapping on acupuncture points while focusing on emotional release can downregulate stress-related genes and upregulate restorative ones. EFT is a powerful tool for breaking habitual emotional loops that negatively influence DNA. 4. Breathwork and coherence techniques. Controlled breathing shifts autonomic nervous system balance, reduces cortisol, and promotes gene expression patterns associated with calm, healing, and resilience. 5. Loving kindness practices. Focusing on feelings of love, compassion, and connection activates oxytocin, promotes cellular repair, and enhances immune function. These states are literally protective at a molecular level. Your emotions shape your habits. Emotional mastery is not just about feeling better, it rewires patterns. Habitual emotional states, whether positive or negative, create persistent epigenetic imprints. Chronic stress leaves lasting marks. Chronic gratitude, joy, and compassion leave equally lasting protective marks. By intentionally cultivating positive emotional states, you are essentially training your genes. Over time, your cellular environment becomes resilient, adaptable, and aligned with health and vitality, breaking free from limiting patterns. Many people inherit epigenetic patterns from generations of stress, trauma, or scarcity. These inherited blueprints may predispose individuals to certain emotional reactions, but they are not destiny. Conscious emotional practices allow you to rewrite these inherited patterns. Healing, self-compassion, and intentional emotional engagement act as epigenetic editors, gradually restoring balance to the system and opening pathways for new, healthier gene expression. This is the essence of empowerment. You are not a passive recipient of inherited emotional patterns. You are an active participant in your biological evolution. The interplay of emotion, choice, and destiny. When you harness emotions, you are not merely influencing your mood or mental state. You are shaping the environment in which your cells operate, determining which genes are expressed and which are silenced. Every choice, every emotional shift, sends ripples through your biology. Over weeks, months, and years, these ripples become waves, cumulative biological effects that manifest as health, vitality, resilience, and longevity. You are literally co-creating your genetic destiny with every emotion you feel and every choice you make. The power of integration. True mastery comes from integrating these practices into daily life. Notice emotional triggers and respond consciously. Begin each day with gratitude or positive intention. Use meditation or breath work to reset the nervous system. Engage in meaningful relationships that foster love, trust, and connection. Release negative emotional baggage through therapeutic or reflective practices. When practiced consistently, these habits create a positive feedback loop. Healthier emotions, healthier gene expression, healthier body, more capacity for positive emotions. A call to conscious living. Harnessing emotions is not about perfection. It is about awareness, choice, and consistent practice. It is about recognizing that your inner world shapes your outer biology, and that you are never powerless in the face of inherited patterns or past experiences. Each emotional decision, small or large, is a biological instruction to your DNA. Every moment of mindfulness, compassion, or joy strengthens your resilience at the molecular level. Every act of self-love, every conscious breath, every intentional thought is a message to your cells. Grow, heal, thrive. Your destiny is not written in stone. The science of epigenetics gives you a profound gift. Your genetic destiny is responsive, not fixed. Your emotions are not ephemeral. They are powerful molecular signals. You are not trapped by inherited patterns, trauma, or stress. You are a living system capable of shaping yourself, cell by cell, gene by gene, emotion by emotion. The truth is simple yet revolutionary. Your emotions shape your DNA. Your DNA shapes your destiny, and you have the power to shape your emotions. Harnessing this knowledge is the ultimate act of self-empowerment. When you live consciously, when you nurture positive emotions, and when you master your inner landscape, you become the architect of not only your health and longevity but the very blueprint of your life. The path to transformation is within you. It begins with awareness, flows through your emotional mastery, and resonates in your DNA, creating a destiny that is consciously chosen, biologically reinforced, and profoundly aligned with your highest potential. From the first spark of awareness to the last deliberate breath, one truth emerges clearly. Your emotions are not just feelings, they are instructions for your DNA. Every thought, every surge of joy, every wave of stress or fear leaves a molecular signature inside your cells. The discoveries of epigenetics reveal a world where the inner life of your mind is inseparable from the biology of your body. Stress and trauma may leave imprints, influencing your health and even your future generations. But these imprints are not permanent. They are invitations to awareness, to choice, and to change. Positive emotions, love, gratitude, peace, joy, are powerful signals that guide your cells toward healing, resilience, and growth. Every conscious act of emotional mastery reshapes your genetic expression, creating a ripple effect that transforms your body, mind, and life. You are no longer a passive passenger of inherited patterns, circumstances, or past experiences. You are the architect of your DNA. Your inner world, the thoughts you nurture, the emotions you cultivate, the intentions you set, literally rewires your genetic blueprint. Science shows that the choices you make today, emotionally and mentally, echo at the molecular level tomorrow, next year, and potentially across generations. This is the ultimate empowerment. Your destiny is not fixed. Your genes are not immutable. Every conscious emotional choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of your biology. By understanding and harnessing the molecular language of your emotions, you hold the tools to craft a life of health, vitality, and purpose. You are more than your DNA. You are its sculptor, its storyteller, its guide. And now, with awareness and intention, you can write the next chapter of your life, one emotion at a time.